Welcome back to the deep dive. We've got quite the stack of sources today, articles, research, notes, all ready for us to dig into. Today, we're taking a deep dive into something really critical, something that's literally reshaping our world, the future of our coastlines. Yeah, the core challenge here is pretty immense. Globally, coastal areas are facing, well, increasing threats. Environmental changes are hitting hard, affecting everything from ecosystems to, the infrastructure we rely on. We've pulled together a lot of material to get a handle on the problem, and importantly, some really innovative solutions. Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. So our mission today is twofold, really. First, understand the big threats facing our coasts, and believe me, the sources show they're serious and complex. And then we pivot. We look at a really hopeful nature-based approach called living shorelines. This isn't just abstract stuff. It's about seeing that direct line from global climate change right down to impacts in our own backyards, basically, and how we adapt.
Exactly. And what jumps out from all this material is that this isn't some far-off environmental issue. Not at all. The human stakes, the economic stakes, they're incredibly high. We're talking direct hits on communities, on infrastructure, livelihoods. The urgency is real. But it's also exciting is seeing how the solutions are getting smarter, more in tune with nature.
Okay, so to really get the urgency, the sources kind of push us to look at the pressure building up on the coasts first. What really struck me was how these different factors don't just add up, they multiply.
That's a great way to put it. The research points squarely at two main drivers, both coming out of climate change. It's like a 1-2 punch, as you said. First, you've got sea level rise.
Yeah.
It's slow, maybe, but relentless, just creeping up. Second, there's the increase in heavy storms. More frequent, more intense, bigger waves, more rain, stronger winds. And when those two combine, they massively accelerate coastal erosion. And this isn't just a bit of sand washing away. It's systematically stripping the land, which leads straight to the loss of natural habitats, those buffers that used to protect us. They're disappearing.
And those habitats, wow, we're not talking about just any land. It's coral reefs, underwater cities, basically. Huge areas of seagrasses, salt marshes, incredible carbon sinks. The sources also list vital estuaries, deltas, our beaches, obviously, and those intertidal zones that change with every tide. These aren't just scenic spots. They're ecological powerhouses. So much biodiversity depends on them.
Yeah, and beyond that direct erosion, there are other, maybe less obvious challenges popping up in the research, like saltwater intrusion. Think about it, saltwater pushing into our freshwater aquifers underground. That contaminates the water sources people rely on for drinking, for farming. It's a huge, quiet threat. And another big one, often missed, is elevated groundwater tables. As the sea level comes up, the groundwater level near the coast often rises too, getting closer to the surface. This really messes with infrastructure, foundations, roads, underground pipes that can become unstable, corrode faster. You mentioned Joe C. at UNH. His research really highlights how this higher groundwater weakens pavement structure specifically. It's a major issue. And then there are other smaller factors adding to the stress changes in local rain, river runoff, warmer water, warmer air. It all adds up.
Wow. So, combine the erosion, the habitat loss, the water contamination, the shaky infrastructure. It paints a pretty stark picture.
Yeah.
What about the direct human impact? Our sources had a striking statistic, something like by 2042,
That's right. A projected 42% of the U.S. population living in coastal shoreline counties.
almost half the country, concentrated right there in these vulnerable zones.
Exactly. So the potential isn't just for damage, it's for massive infrastructure failure, maybe even large-scale population displacement, huge social, huge economic disruption. And this ties directly into the economy, It's really clear from the research. Healthy coasts mean a healthy economy. They're not just nice to look at, they're economic engines. The sources identify key industries: fishing, tourism, defense, transportation, all heavily reliant on coastal areas.
Foundational sectors.
Absolutely. And get this, a 2013 estimate. Around 48% of U.S. GDP tied to just those four sectors.
48%. Nearly half our economic output depending on these fragile zones.
It puts it in perspective, doesn't it? Investing in coastal resilience isn't just an environmental nice-to-have. It's an economic necessity, protecting our prosperity, essentially.
Okay, so huge economic importance, major infrastructure risks. But there's also something else interesting in the sources, almost a flip side, about water management specifically in coastal areas.
Yeah, that was a fascinating point. It's about runoff control. See, inland, a lot of rainwater needs to soak into the ground to recharge aquifers, our drinking water. But near the coast, that water is generally heading straight to the ocean anyway.
Okay, so you don't have the same pressure to let it soak in.
Exactly. It gives planners and engineers more flexibility. You can design drainage differently, maybe focus more purely on flood control, or even use that runoff to create specific habitats. It opens up options you just don't have inland.
All right, so we've laid out the pressures, the high stakes, human, economic, and even the sort of unique water management aspect. The big question then is, what do we do? Are the old ways enough, or do we need something new? And this is where our sources really started pointing towards living shorelines, part of this bigger idea of green infrastructure.
Precisely. And to really get what living shorelines are, it helps to compare them to the old approach, gray infrastructure.
Like concrete walls.
Exactly. Your bulkheads, your seawalls. Think about lower Manhattan after Hurricane Sandy, all that talk about building a massive wall to keep the water out. Classic gray infrastructure. Hard, rigid barriers. Living shorelines are fundamentally different. They work with nature. They use natural materials, native plants like marsh grasses, maybe oyster reefs, sometimes strategically placed sand or rock to do the job. They bind the soil, they reduce wave energy hitting the shore. And here's the really clever part. They're designed to actually grow upward as sea levels rise.
Wow, okay, so they adapt.
They adapt. It's not a fixed wall that gets overwhelmed. It's a dynamic, living system that evolves with the environment. It's about collaboration, not confrontation with nature. That adaptability is key.
That is really compelling. And the source mentioned that the benefits go beyond just erosion control, right? It's like a package deal.
Oh, absolutely. Multiple compounding benefits. They improve water quality, acting like natural filters, kind of like those bioretention cells we sometimes see inland, trapping pollutants. They enhance aquatic habitats, create homes for fish, birds, oysters, crabs, boosting biodiversity.
Good.
Plus, they contribute to carbon sequestration. The plants, the soil, they pull carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere, so they're actually helping fight climate change too.
So water quality, habitat, carbon storage, it's a whole suite of benefits.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach, delivering environmental, economic, and resilience benefits all at once. And that, I think, is what's truly fascinating here. It's not just a tweak on the old methods. It really represents a fundamental shift in thinking. We're moving away from trying to dominate nature with these brute force structures. And instead, we're figuring out how to strategically partner with natural processes for long-term sustainability. It's smarter, it's more resilient, and ultimately it seems much more effective.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've seen the intense pressures on our coasts. Rising seas, bigger storms, saltwater intrusion, infrastructure risks, huge stakes. But then we explored this powerful idea, living shorelines, moving away from rigid gray barriers towards dynamic natural systems, systems that adapt, grow, and provide this whole cascade of benefits.
Yeah, this deep dive really underscores the need for that long-term thinking, for adaptability, for seeking solutions that give you multiple wins, not just solve one problem while maybe creating others. Living shorelines feel like they could be a real model, not just for coasts, but anywhere our built world meets the natural world. It's about working with the planet, not just on it.
Absolutely. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it? Next time you're near the ocean, maybe walking on a beach or looking out over a bay, don't just see the beauty. Think about that invisible work happening. Maybe there's living infrastructure there under the surface, adapting, protecting. This whole idea of living shorelines makes you wonder, what other ways can we weave natural processes into how we build our cities, our communities? Not just to fix problems, but to make places more resilient, more vibrant, genuinely better places to live. That's something to chew on.